All right, so now's the time where we take a peek behind the curtains and let's go revisit our text messages with Stephen M. Sipple.
Okay.
I said, hey, Sip, we got a different thing going on tomorrow. I didn't tell him about Frank Kelly. I never tell the guests why they're getting bumped.
Okay.
I just tell them that they're getting bumped.
Probably a smart thing to do.
I could have in this case said, like, hey, we have somebody who can only, make one time work. So we're going to have to move you around. But I said, might have to move you up tomorrow or just punt. Does any time other than 12:30 work for you tomorrow? There's an update to this, which I have just received.
Oh, okay.
Does any time other than 12:30 work for you? And I've found that that's not a great strategy either. You're just better off giving them the time.
Yeah.
Right? Just say, does this work?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he said, name a time. And I said, you know what? Let's do about 1:15, 1:20. And his response to that was, that is perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
As you've noticed, Steve Sipple is not on the show right now, and I've just received a text from him that said 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Now, in 5 minutes, we're only going to have about 5 minutes in 5 minutes. So
5 minutes and 5 minutes. I follow.
5 minutes and 5. So call him in 5 minutes at 1:25.
Okay.
And we'll see exactly what the deal is with our good friend Stephen M. Sipple. All right. What are we going back to from earlier today then? Because that's basically the options that we have at the moment.
The big college football changes.
Oh, the pants?
The game is changing for the better or the worse, Connor.
You want to talk about 2-minute warnings? That's the story?
Not really, but I think that's maybe the thing our audience probably wants.
The easiest one?
Our takes on,
maybe that people wanted more Nebraska baseball in the conversation. But I don't know how many more ways I could say that they're good. And I like them. And that Creighton will beat Marquette tomorrow and Tyler Kolek will or will not play. Or that Scott Van Pelt has takes on Greg McDermott. So yeah, maybe you're right. The rule proposals. So we mentioned the uniforms part, and we made a big joke out of that. But also the 2-minute warning, that was something that we didn't necessarily get into. So the committee proposed adding an automatic timeout when 2 minutes remain in the second and fourth quarters. The recommendation synchronizes all timing rules, such as 10-second runoffs and stopping the clock when a first down is gained bounds, which coincides with the 2-minute timeout. The 2-minute timeout will allow all end of half and end of game timing rules to be simplified with a sync up with this timeout. Steve Shaw, the secretary rules editor, said this will also help broadcast partners avoid back-to-back media timeouts. Now, one of the things that is underlying the surface here is that the 2-minute warning does trigger an automatic media timeout. So it doesn't mean any more or any less timeouts. It just means that we can synchronize one straight into it, which is good. But remember, it's all about the TV product. On the football service, it does make some sense, though. We're joined now on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline by someone who called us, Stephen M. Sipple, HuskerOnline.com. Sipple, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, I felt terrible. I was on the phone when you called, so
it's okay. Who were you on the phone with? Was it Lance Leipold?
No, I don't mind telling you. I was catching up with Bill Moose. Just catch up. He wouldn't mind me sharing that. He's in the middle of a book. He's writing a book, so sometimes he calls and just has some, questions about maybe stuff that happened if he remembers it right, like that sort of thing. It's not just a book about Nebraska; it's a book about his career.
That is the best thing you could have possibly said when I asked who were you on the phone with. That's amazing.
It could have been more amazing than Bill Moose, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's good to catch up with Moose.
It is great. It's great. I wonder often about how he's doing, and so I'm glad that he's doing well. It seems.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's on his ranch. He is literally writing a book. He's written 250 pages. He has a publisher. He is. It's serious and it's interesting. I mean, believe me, it's not just tripe. It's he's got some stories now.
Okay, so there's going to be some stuff in there, Sipple, right? Like about his time at Nebraska.
Oh God, there'll be. Let's put it this way: when his book comes out, it'll be news in Nebraska. There'll be news. There'll be a couple of things out of that book that will have to be addressed.
So how many times can you retell the story of cheesesteaks in Philadelphia?
Yeah, there's that. But yeah, he was here during an interesting period, and there's a lot. He's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy. He's one of the funniest guys I've ever been around. It was almost hard to cover at the time because it would just devolve into just a lot of howling laughter. But anyway, he's literally on the ranch writing a book right now.
I am very much looking forward to this. Is there any targeted release date that he has? Is he close to being done? Where are we at? I'm interested.
I think he wants to be done for the start of the football season.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Something to talk about at the College World Series shows, which I'm sure you'll be doing a lot of.
I don't know. I didn't do any last year, I don't think.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like did my schedule change or something?
I don't know what happened last summer. I think we had it all covered. We just kind of covered them up last summer, which was good.
Yeah. So how are things going there?
They're good. We just had Frank Caliendo in the studio, and
oh God, I saw that on the promos, which that's why I tweeted out the promo. God, I missed it. Okay, well I can go back and listen to that. Yeah, I will listen. How did that go?
It was great. He did a lot of good impressions. I had this idea that was floating around in my head that we would play him some audio of you, and then he would do a you impression. But it didn't end up coming to fruition because our time got shortened a little bit.
Just as well. So who did he do impressions of?
He's got Bill Walton. He's got Barkley. Ripped into some Gruden, some Jim Rome at the end.
I'm definitely listening to that. That's got to be incredible. He does Rome.
Oh yeah, he does. It's really good Rome too. Yeah, so he went over and spoke to the Creighton team today and did some Stephen A. Smith and Barkley takes about the Creighton players, which it sounds like they enjoyed.
Oh, that guy is ridiculously talented. God, Happer, that's good. I gotta listen. I will listen to that.
It was fun. It all happened because Josh's budding friendship with him, which is really nice. Josh and him are on texting terms.
Oh my God. This is all too much for me to handle right now.
You can hang up and go listen. No, we want to keep you for another 5 minutes or so here.
Yeah.
Thoughts on basketball as they head into what's basically it's postseason time right now. They get a chance to do something that's never been done. Do you still think that, or where are you at with this group after the loss last night?
Absolutely, still think that. I'm struck by how kind of fans are really taking this loss in stride, which I think is maybe a sign of maturity on the fans' part. Oh, that's really condescending for me to say that, but I don't think anybody's too rattled by the loss. I'm surprised by it. I am. I thought even if Ohio State had Thornton, that Nebraska would win the game. I like their chances a lot. So I was surprised last night that they weren't able to get over the hump in the second half. Ohio State's played well, obviously. Come on, boy. Since Holtman's firing. But I still thought Nebraska was the better team. And whenever the better team loses, I'm always a little struck by it. I still think Nebraska's a better team. I think, they get we'll call it a luxury or maybe the good fortune of having Rutgers coming in on Sunday at 5:30, and that, how it is at that place. It was super loud against Minnesota. I imagine it'll be super loud again, and I imagine that Rutgers won't score 50.
Right.
And I imagine that Nebraska will eclipse 50 with about 15 minutes to go and win by 20 plus. So
Yeah.
it's a good the schedule set up good for them.
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of strikes me, I guess, is prior to last night, although they got it going a little bit, but it happens especially when they play at home. Just they have this kind of swagger, and what sort of tipped me off in my memory of thinking about this was you talking about how they play when they get in front of their home crowd, and there always used to be this kind of, and it still exists, this kind of nervous energy surrounding the team that like the bottom is going to drop out at any moment. And I think part of the fan base is, like you said, maturity of taking the loss okay last night was that they are still good and they have this sort of, they got this swagger about them right now. Like I still feel like that carries on with them.
I do too. I don't think it'll just go away, especially profound at home. If I'm just staying with a sort of negative slant, it's not overly negative, but I think this team will know this. Will always regard this team as one that was, I was going to say, elite at home. I mean, they're an elite team at home. They're just not very good on the road. That's the way it is. There's nothing really it can do now to overcome that. I guess technically you'd be playing away if you won the Big Ten tournament. That would help. And I guess they'd erase a lot of that if they won the Big Ten tournament and won in the NCAA tournament. But as it is right now, that's how we'll remember them.
Steve Sipple, yeah.
Winning again, I got to do anything to do that. That was sort of the disappointment. But I still believe they're a team that can do damage at the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. There's nothing that would dissuade my thinking on that happened last night.
I agree with you completely. Steve Sipple of Husker Online is with us. I wanted to ask you, we were sort of ruminating a little bit on this topic before we brought you on. But the center focus, obviously, as we head into spring ball, will be Dylan Raiola from the outsider perspective. And they released the documentary, the kind of day in the life stuff, and Dylan wasn't really in there much. And I think Rule has talked about this a little bit before, and where their program is going to be kind of focused. And he wants a defensive oriented team, right? But I feel like there's a conscious effort to kind of like pump the brakes a little bit on now you're only going to be able to control so much on the Dylan Raiola kind of hype train. Like, how have you felt about the way that they sort of, I don't know, portray him, I guess, to the public as we kind of start going down this road of where we're actually going to play football? I feel like it's a little bit of an effort to say, hey, there's more guys that matter in our program.
I don't know. Maybe I need to pay closer attention, but there just haven't been many opportunities even to play.
Definitely, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think they have they want it. They don't want it to be a quarterback centric program. And I'm not even talking about from personalities, like from a football standpoint. I think this has been I mean, you know it. It's been a quarterback centric program for a long time, and they can get good quarterback play without having him be everything in your program.
Oh my God, that's a good point, Happer. I hadn't even really thought of it that way, but the fact that it is a defensive oriented program now probably works in all the quarterbacks' favor. Dylan Raiola and Heinrich Haarberg, and Daniel Kalen, all of them. I guess I really hadn't thought of it in those terms. I haven't given much thought to the topic that you raised about Dylan, because there hasn't just been much to discuss at this point. They're in winter conditioning. Everybody's in winter conditioning across the country. It's not overly unique. I think we try to make it unique. It's really not.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So Dylan is just doing what guys do, and I think everything I've heard suggests that he's come in with a good attitude. But yeah, I don't need the head coach to say that right now. What's it mean? Doesn't really mean much.
Right.
But I think what you said is exactly right. It's not going to be it won't be a quarterback centric program. Now it'll become a little bit more quarterback centric if he's in the Heisman Trophy hunt.
Correct. Yeah.
Hey, hold on a second. Cat, hold on. Chloe, come on. Cat got out. Inside cat, get the hell in. I was holding the door open, and we have an inside cat that got out. So no problem. So yeah, that's a good. No, you make a great point, Happer.
Thank you.
But no, I'm not. We'll see what it's like in the spring, and the conversation might evolve a little bit come spring game time, right?
Yeah.
We'll see what that all looks like. But I think there is a head coach over there that can handle that part of it. Kind of temper that as much as he can. We'll see how it works.
All right, Sipple. Well, get everybody back in where they need to be, back in their cages, back in their houses. Are we good over there?
Yeah, Chloe's an inside cat. She would last about 15 minutes in the wild, so it's always a freak show when she sneaks out. I don't know even why she does it. She always takes about 4 steps out and realizes, oh, this is not for me, and then heads back in.
Yeah.
If it was my responsibility for Chloe being eaten by a fox or something, I'd never live it down, okay?
Tell Chloe that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Just stay in that house.
I will tell her. I'll tell her exactly that, okay?
All right. Bye, Sipple. Thank you.
See you.
Look, Connor, I don't want to be prisoner of the moment here. That might have been the best Sipple interview you've ever done.
Cat got out. Twice.
You got the huge reveal of the Moose book.
I know.
I don't think he understands what he told us.
No, and
he knows it'll be a big deal when the book prints.
Yeah, that book will have some momentum around here, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Chris writes in.
Hi, Chris.
Cat got out. Has to be in the new Sipple intro for the show. Mustache Adam writes in.
Hi, Mustache.
Get the hell inside, Cat. Is an all-timer from Sipple. Absolutely amazing.
It was great before the cat got out. And, Frank Caliendo.
He's obsessed apparently with Frank Caliendo.
He's incredibly talented.
I got to go back and listen to that right now. He does our Jim Rome.
He was doing Romy.
Doc writes in.
Hi, Doc. What's up, Doc?
Sip yelling at his cat is the highlight of this interview. It's hard to say. Was it that? Was it the revelation that Bill Moose is writing a book? Or was it his affection of Frank Caliendo, who's incredibly talented?
Hurt and Husker fan writes on Twitter, the cat's name being Chloe seems very Sipple.